I'm Jonathan Byer with a B.
And today we have six-time senior men U.S. Nationals competitor Scott Dyer. Scott Dyer, welcome back to the skating lesson.
Hi. I'm super excited to be here, actually. Trying to dive into skating a little more now. So why not start here, I guess.
So you are on a break between teaching SoulCycle sessions. You're living your best life up in San Francisco. Yeah. And some of the recent people taking your SoulCycle class have been Paulina Edmonds, Emily Hughes, Christina Gao. Who else has been living their best life in SoulCycle?
Yeah, those are the three skating people I saw. I saw Christina when I was in New York training for this little job that I'm doing now up in San Francisco. And then, Paulina came a few weeks ago from San Jose over Christmas break. And then probably 2-3 weeks ago, Emily came because she lives in the marina. And I teach in the marina a bunch of times during the week. And she came and took my class. So lots of crossover right now. Lots of crossover. Also, I've been getting some people that come up to me after class, and this one woman was like, I was really nervous about taking your class. I was like, oh, why? Why? It's so nice to meet you. She's like, well, I've been following you in your skating career, and so when you decided to become a SoulCycle instructor, I really wanted to meet you. I was like, oh, well, I mean, that's cool. I like that. It's cool that they're kind of all merging together.
And you
now,
also.
Scott, my biggest hope for you is that you're making lots of spinning puns, between skating and the actual SoulCycle. I hope that there's a lot of material there for you.
I try to make puns. I try to relate my experience as a skater to class too.
Okay.
I mean, I literally on Saturdays I have Sparkle Saturday, where if I fill up the entire room in Marin, I wear one of my skating costumes. I mean, it's a whole thing,
It's a whole shtick. Okay.
Marin people love the sparkles, so anytime I get to do that, hey, why not?
I spun with you once. It was horrifying for me, but people love it. So it was. I don't enjoy the jumping up and down that happens on the SoulCycle bike when we're tapping it back. It's very. I'm a slow-moving glacier. I like to run or walk, but the changing of the planes is hard for me. So.
It is an experience, for sure.
Well, let's dive into the U.S. Nationals. This is your first year that you're not competing. You're officially retired, but we know that you were watching. So let's dive right in. It was quite the event. I think there's a lot of buzz on Alysa Liu, who became the youngest U.S. national champion. And what did you make of overall her performance here? What did you think of Alysa winning here at such a young age in junior? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing?
I think it was, I thought she was great. I thought she handled herself super well. She's super, super trained. You pretty much knew she was going to go into it and do something. At least I felt like I knew she was going to go out and do something very similar to that. I thought the triple axels were great. When you saw them, I thought they actually seemed to look more round than some of the other jumps later in the program that I thought got a little dicey. And then really it's at this point, I just feel like it's a waiting game, It's how does she handle growing up? She's 13. When I was 13, I was not doing that, and it's how does she grow into being a senior lady?
So just to ask you a technical question, some of the times when we talk about the Russian girls, we talk about sustainability because of who's jumping with their legs and who's kind of jumping with their arms and relying on rotation. And as I look at someone who's 13 doing triple axels, do you find that this particular technique is a sustainable one that could withstand a growth spurt because it comes more from the legs? Or do you find this a bit more the other school we've seen with some junior skaters that do it kind of up and around?
She has a great, I noticed that she had an incredible sense of how to get into her air position as quickly as possible. It's one of the things Frank used to talk about all the time is he would always make us do a really, really long back scratch spin and hold it for as long as possible until almost it came to a standstill. And he was like, we do this for a reason because this is what we do in the air. And I felt like she always knew how to get right there.
Okay.
we'll see what happens when, like, you know, you grow up and the body's always changing and, like, you know, and see. But she does jump, like, more with her legs, I felt like, than the Russians do. I feel like she has a pretty good sense of her technique, and we'll see what happens. I think the toe loops, to me, I noticed on the, like, triples, they looked a little, like, dicier than I remember them being. It also could have been that she was, like, a little more nervous. This was national championships. I think she, even though she's 13, I think she was well aware of, like, probably how well she could do. Mm-hmm. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little sense of nervousness.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to watch, because not only do we have to watch puberty, but it's a hard juxtaposition here. But obviously there were so many articles about Gracie that came out, and as soon as Alysa won, I mean, she's on Jimmy Fallon, she's on the Today Show, she's on
she got everywhere very quickly.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And, you know, signing with an agent or working with an agent. So it's very quick for her, but I think it's going to be interesting. She did her job, I think, at these nationals. I thought that her skating looked a lot slower. I also felt that the judges would have given the title to Brady or Mariah, but Alysa just won, even with the difference in the components.
Yeah, I think they were very, I absolutely agree that, like, it looked like they were very willing to give the title to Brady or Mariah. I think they were really kind of, like, helping them out. I did see that in the short program, which was deserved. I mean, you would see Alysa skate, and she would skate really well. And then, you know, Mariah would come out, and she would just, I mean, she was zooming down the ice, you know, and there was definitely you could tell the difference, even if you were watching it. I watched a lot just on my computer, some of it on the TV, and you could just tell the difference, you know. And also, like, Alysa, like, you know, she has, like, I felt like she had good skating skills, but it's kind of like, you know, the arms just are very, like, out like this, and, like, we do our job, and, like, that's about it. And it was very, like, getting the job done. But she did her job. That's the thing. Like, she really did get the job done. She got the stuff done.
Yeah, Jonathan, what did you notice the speed? Because you were there in person. What did you notice her speed with the top ladies?
So I saw, the free skate for everyone, and she didn't for sure fill out the ice in the same way, the actual coverage itself. And the other thing was, it was much slower, but when you're in the arena like that, there was an excitement because clearly everyone wanted her to do well. Everyone was looking for the story. And it's interesting because even though the skating skills may have been at one level, understandably so because of the age, the energy of the arena, I felt, can really boost those performance and interpretation scores, because you felt like you may have witnessed something that was even more projected than it really was, but so much of it was the crowd rooting for her, if that makes sense. I know that's like a weird, like, cosmic energy thing that I think was actually also making it even more of an exciting performance than it might have been if you were just watching on a screen.
Yeah, I think obviously the audience knew that there was the potential for history to be made there. So it's hard not sense that. I think her backstory is quite interesting. So obviously there's going to be a lot of attention. I think the fact that she has a father who previously, you know, articles had a partner, had a surrogate, had anonymous egg donor, was in a Michelle Kwan fan. I mean, Jonathan, if we had children, this would be our story. So that's...
Yeah, it's a unique, new, fresh, and nice story to hear about a young girl doing great things. So it was very easy to see why they tried to push her in front of the media so much so quickly, because it was kind of a feel-good story. I mean, of course, time will tell what the real story is. But my last annoying technical question for you, Scott, about the triple axel is sometimes she kind of had this Sao-Kawi look to it. Does that make any sense? Like, something about the axel entrance, I don't know if she was assisting with the other foot or something like that. I didn't know if that was something that other people noticed or if that was her style to getting that jump, or what.
You mean her leg wrap, or what are you talking about?
No, like on the actual takeoff itself.
Well, I noticed she really liked to she definitely would keep her left shoulder really far in front, almost to the point where the left arm actually didn't really go behind her. Okay. And very similar to, like, almost a little bit, like, it reminded me of like a a little bit Carolina Costner-esque, where the knee never actually passes the leg. It was like just to the point, and then it was, okay, now we're getting into our backspin. Okay. And I think sometimes that creates that kind of like whippy sow cow look to it. Like it didn't, there wasn't like a true lift up and then a rotation, which I mean, for a triple axel, I mean, you got to get into your rotating position pretty instantaneously. So like I think you notice that with Tuxumisheva as well. It's like very left shoulder in front, and then the moment we take off, we're in our backspin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know? So we'll see what happens when maybe she gets more comfortable with it, and like there might be a little more speed to it. Maybe she won't like get on her toe pick right before she takes off. It kind of would come to that little bit of a stop before she went to take off. That will smooth up, and then she could like maybe launch it a little more as she gets more comfortable.
Yeah, it wasn't a criticism of the jump. It was just something that I noticed. So it must just be her way to do it right now.
Yeah, her way to do it and get around it, which she did. Yeah.
So one of the things I want to ask you about is obviously she is with her coach Laura, who this is Laura's first real main student, but she has been starting to work with more and more famous coaches, and she worked with Frank Carroll before Nationals, who obviously you know very well. So how retired is Frank? Because they actually asked Frank to go to Nationals, but he felt that Laura should have her moment because she raised her forever. But they have been working with her. So how retired do you think Frank is? We see he's going to do the Toyota Camp this summer. What is your take on this?
I think Frank will be teaching until he really, really can't teach anymore. I fully knew that after he like retired, he would always be coaching in Palm Springs. He lives down the street from it. He loves going there. If people want to go to him and work with him, I know he'd be more than happy to. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you just saw him there one year at Nationals, like, surprise, everyone. Like fedora hat on, and he's ready to go, you know? Like,
yeah. It seems like the dad, I have to say, the dad is a fascinating character because we've made comments, and all of a sudden he takes advice. You could see he has worked, he's brought in Tom Dixon for the skating skills. He's brought in Frank for his expertise. So they seem to be making a lot of really smart moves. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with her.
Yeah, I think those are super smart moves to do. I mean, you really have to people go to them for a reason. They have a long history of like creating successful people and working on creating material that will really elevate her. Even I was like watching the short program and I thought it was a good choice. It was super cute. Like she looked really cute, and it was it felt like something that I thought was a good idea. But the crescendo is happening, and she is doing crossovers around the corner, and I was just things that area where it's we got to create more moments in order to just elevate her to the next level, because she was just kind of going around the corner to do her I think her triple S triple toe, as Barbara's going crazy,
And why I'm hopeful for her is because it's things like you just said, Dave. They're seeking out refining coaches, people that can help with skating skills. Versus, I could see it very easy for the other campaign to be now we're getting quads. Quads are next, or somehow the priority's in the totally wrong direction. But it seems like they kind of have their eye on a big picture prize. And I'm glad to hear that involves that.
She has been trying the quadlets. She did it, I believe, at regionals. She was going for the quadlets. So there's a lot of both things going on. But
I'm sure they're trying it all. I think they've even talked about how they're looking at the Russians and U.S. figure skating's looking at the Russians. It's a thing I think they all talk about. It's how are we gonna match up with them? And so I think I wouldn't be surprised if you saw her at the beginning of next season throwing a bunch of stuff out and seeing what happens.
I mean, she is going to be on the Junior Grand Prix against a lot of Atari's students next year, her next generation of students. So that's going to be really interesting to see what happens and trying to follow this along. Also, do you think we'll have a Lori Nickel program next year? Is that a prediction? I have a feeling.
My go-to is always just go to Lori for something, try it out. As near and dear to my heart that she is. So if they went to her, I'd be great.
I'm waiting for the Nike sponsorship because it seems like she's working with Yuki Sagusa, and I'm waiting for we're going to find out that she's going to be doing guest spots on Stars on Ice. So I'm feeling like that's coming, and then I think that we're going to see.
Yeah. We need a trip to Toronto.
Trip to Toronto for Lori. I think that's coming within the next year, which is not bad things. So how about Brady? Yeah. How about Bradie Tennell? She came in here. I thought she did a great job in the short program. Really was skating with a lot of fire and attack. And it was interesting. All season we've been talking about whether or not she should do the triple lutz, triple loop or a triple lutz, triple toe in the free skate. It's been kind of a little bit of a struggle for her. She went for it. It wasn't successful. What's your take on Bradie and where she is right now?
I also agree. I loved her short program. I thought there was like a ton of attack. Everything was really solid. It really felt, because I watched Alyssa's and Bradie's back to back, and I was just like, wow, like 100%, she deserves to be at the top. I thought she did like such a good job. And then, the long program it didn't feel, I actually really felt like she was out of her knees the whole time. All of a sudden the landing positions were not as down in the knees. They were more like held on, especially after that trip. I think I don't know her personally. It seems to me that trip was very shocking to her. And then all of a sudden it was, we got to save this, instead of like, we're just going to calm ourselves down. We're going to get back into what we always do. It was more of like oh no, what's happening? I don't do this. And because she seems very like mechanical in a good way, where it's like, I do this all the time. This is what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to be very like to the point. And then when that little slip happened, that seemed more surprising. I felt like it just like caused her a little bit of a distraction. And also, she was defending champion, and all that was still there too. That I think kind of felt like it was a little glazed over, especially on the broadcast. It was all about like, is she going to beat Alyssa or not? Instead of like, she's reigning champion. Like, let's see if she's going to, capture that second title. But I think overall, like, I think she's super improved from last year. She obviously is like a really, really hard worker. My only little thing is I think like, I wanted things to be simpler. Like, to me, the dresses are like a lot. I think everything could be like pulled back a little bit to be a little more, I don't want to say sophisticated, because they were beautiful dresses, just like a little, I don't know, to like put her in a different category.
One thing I want to ask you, I noticed that with Benoit, they seem to send the skaters to him who are not your typical lyrical Peggy Fleming-esque skater. If you're not the most artistic skater, it seems like they go to Benoit and you emphasize the fact that you're going to be doing all these weird angles and all of these harsher choreography, and it can work really well for some skaters. But I do get the sense with Bradie, both dresses are busy, the programs are a lot. The short works. The free is a lot going on.
Yeah, I think the short works, and then you get a very similar sense in the long program, where I really wish there was a bit of a departure. Also, like, when my experience was I worked with Lori for a few years, and there's always a talk about, like, from one movement to the other, one, does it feel good? Two, does it make sense? And sometimes I see these programs and they put something in there because they feel like they need to, but it doesn't look like it feels very good, and it doesn't look like it really makes sense. And sometimes I felt like there were moments where she would like change direction and it didn't look like it felt very good, where maybe they could like look at it and be like, oh, well, maybe we'll go this way, or we'll do a different move so it feels really good in your body to like go that way. Listening more to like how it feels so that she feels super comfortable, because sometimes I felt like there were these movements that I think they're trying to like help her, I don't know, grow into and develop, but maybe after a while, if it doesn't feel good, okay, we're going to look at it again, maybe do something a little different, which I think would help her. I know it would help me because we would do something for a while, and then Lori would just look at me and be like, "That doesn't feel good, does it?" And I'm like, "No, like I don't know."
And when you say it doesn't feel good, you mean like almost unnatural. This isn't naturally where it wants to go.
There are things where your body are going to be like, "Yeah, that felt great." Like I feel super empowered when I do that move. And she would just look at me and she was like, "That doesn't feel good, does it? That feels uncomfortable." And you might train it over and over and over and over again, and it's still going to feel uncomfortable. And then that's when you just say, "Okay, we're going to try something different now."
Yeah.
And what normally happens, I feel, is that you find something that's so much better.
Yeah. I noticed the thing about Bradie is that she is someone that seems to will things to happen, which is a great quality, but it's also a weakness in the sense that this triple loop is probably something that should have been taken out, but she probably wants to do it, can do it in training, and wants the points, but in competition things change just that little bit, and it's something that she struggled with all year, and it cost her here. And I wouldn't be shocked if they take it out for Worlds and just go clean, because I think she's someone who maybe she's not set up to medal as a favorite, but I think that she could capitalize on the mistakes of others and do pretty well at Four Continents.
Dave, you're going to have to remind me, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Her jumping passes, she's doing the loop because she's putting on in the triple toe on two other moments, right? So
she's a triple loop, double toe, double loop, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Combo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I mean, I understood it from a strategic standpoint because they're not looking domestically per se. They're trying to look internationally. And internationally on paper, I would understand why they think she needs that. Because to be more of a factor, she would be if she hits it clean. But at which point do you abandon it? I don't know. Yeah. At this juncture...
I think you have to look... I think, I've thought a lot about this the last couple we've had, because we had a delay in doing the show, and watching Europeans, look... I mean, Zagitova also has been struggling with her triple loop all season. She's just trying to get things done. I think if Bradie can deliver her content with confidence and getting, positive GOEs and elements, she's going to be pretty successful. She'll probably do better or equal to what she did last season because the field has so many ups and downs. Is Satiko going to land her jumps? What is Rika going to do? What are the Russians going to do? And I think if Bradie just goes in there with her blinders on, I think it was really positive that she was so upset at the end of her performance. And I don't mean that to be mean or anything, but she was noticeably disappointed. And I have a feeling that we're going to see her battle back and bounce back for Four Continents. I don't think
it will encourage her instead of discourage her?
Yeah, I think she'll come back pissed off and skate pissed off, which can be a lot easier. So
yeah,
I mean, she's obviously a very, very, very hard worker, and she comes to things very, very prepared. And I wouldn't be surprised if she came out swinging Four Continents.
And something like the takeaway, like in person, is the word is like precision. Even when things weren't working perfectly, you could see clean moments, and she's hitting clean lines and stuff. So I think they do a really good job in the short program of accentuating that kind of cleanliness. But just in the difference between Cinderella to Romeo and Juliet, like I was like, okay, I'll take it. I still see room to grow in the same way you're like, I don't really know her. Sometimes you know a skater, or you think you know a skater based on how they're skating, and she is not necessarily that. I see how she's a hard worker. I see her like amazing like student-like qualities coming through. But so I think it'll be interesting what they choose for next season, because I think they did make a pretty huge step based on what we saw last year at the same time.
Now, Scott, do you think that the BS of nationals kind of got in her head? I mean, when you think about, they have the short program press conference, they're asking Alysa Liu all of the questions. Bradie and Alysa both working with the same agent, NBC cameras following them all around. Obviously, they're the people of interest. Do you think that played a role in kind of seeing an uncharacteristic Bradie in the free skate?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I thought these performances were better than because it felt like at first some of the performances on the Grand Prix were a little shaky. And I felt like there was improvement in these, and nationals is a totally different beast, though. I mean, it really is. There is all that kind of like hype, like the cameras are around, and of course, like, they did latch onto her story. It's like the 13-year-old, like, what is she going to do? Is she going to be the youngest champion now? Like, yes. Like, and, you know, I think, yeah, there's probably a part of her that was like, you know, I'm still here. And, like, I'm trying to defend my title. Right. And I felt like the short program really was like, I'm here. Like, this is my title. And, yeah, maybe, like, all the press conferences and all that stuff maybe shook her up. But I don't know. She seems like a really excited girl and woman, I should say. And I think that, like, you know, it didn't quite happen.
Yeah. I was surprised it didn't happen, I have to say, because I expected her after the short program to just nail it in the free skate. But
I felt like she was going to nail it, too. I was a little surprised.
But I do think we'll see her nail it at Four Continents. I don't think this is the end of Bradie by any means. And they definitely need Bradie in the U.S. for the next couple of seasons if they're going to be successful and get those 3 spots. Now, what's your take on Mariah Bell's performance? Obviously, she was one of the main contenders here. And it seemed like the judges really would have loved to have rewarded her skating. It seems like she hasn't walked through some of the open doors, you know, in her career at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bummer that she fell on that Lutz in the long program, because you could, even just by the score that she got afterwards, it was very clear, like, if that was a landed triple Lutz, you probably would have been national champion. I mean, the score was high. And it was, I mean, a lot of it was well-deserved. I feel like this year she's really been able to, like, maximize on the quality of some of the jumps she's doing. Beautiful landing positions, like some more difficult entrances. Overall, I feel like this season's been really great for her. It was nationals, so I felt like the short program triple Lutz, triple toe was generous.
It wasn't around.
Generous. But you know what? You know, it's nationals, and sometimes, you know, people that have been around for a while and they're hard workers, and sometimes it's like, you know what? We're going to give you a little, like, just a little bit. And so, again, I mean, I thought her speed was great here, too. I could see her speed, like, on the computer. And, you know, it's just a bummer that, like, there's that, like, there's always seems to be, like, one little hiccup. If we could try to get rid of that one hiccup that happens.
Yeah.
I know, she's so nice, and you could tell that she would be their dream national champion. If she was just a little bit more of, like, an aggressive, nasty girl, I think that it would come out when she...
That part in the middle, like that middle of the program for her, that, like, there's a lot of content in that middle part that she needs to capitalize on, and, like, when it's like that fighter has to all of a sudden pop out. Like, there's that point where I think she does like a few jumps in a row where I feel like it has to get a little, like, got to get a little grittier. Although the music is very, like, lyrical and beautiful, I think it kind of has to go into, like, go mode. Like, we're going to get the job done now.
I will say she looks so much more sophisticated and refined than she did a year ago. It's amazing.
And really, in person, more than anyone in the field. Like, all of a sudden, out came this elegant gazelle.
Really looking the part of a senior, a champion, someone really wants to take it seriously.
Yeah, and it's something I don't necessarily appreciate as much on screen. In person, you know, where she fell, also there were a lot of, like, up-and-comers, a lot of new people here. To see someone kind of seasoned and at ease with all these things, it was just really kind of next level sophistication. It's exactly the right word.
Now, what do you make of Ting? She's an East Coast girl. There hasn't been a really top East Coast girl in a while who has been training on the East Coast, at least. And she, you know, obviously worked with Vincent before. She worked with Chris Conti, and it seems like there's been a lot of acknowledgement that Ting has a ton of potential, but this is the first time we really saw her start to live up to that on the national stage. You know, what do you make of her potential in the future? There's so much talk of Alysa, but what about Ting?
I mean, I remember seeing her when I would, like, go home for a little while, and I would go back and work with Bobby Shire, as we all know, was an amazing spin technician, and so I would go and work with her, and I'd see Ting a lot, and I think she's a huge talent. at that stage where it seems very like she's definitely an all or nothing type of girl. It seems like it's either we are connected and dialed in and we're going to do the job, or we're not going to do it. And so maybe there's a way as she gets older and is more experienced and has more time under her belt, maybe we start to not be so black and white when it comes to like performances. Because I felt like the long program was really fantastic.
I was having like an out-of-body experience during her long program because like also she due to the unfortunate showing in the short program, she came in the midst of skaters that were not to her level or talent probably. And
came out there just like
extension for days. Listening to, I couldn't be more excited that she's at Four Continents. Like I was really having.
I felt like her arms were so beautiful. I think she does listen to music and like. There's a ton of potential there. So yeah, I would, and if she stays healthy and like, continues to do her job, like, I think she could definitely be someone that's around for a while.
Yeah, I'll be curious what happens with her. She has a skating parent as well, and I think that they've been guiding her career along. There's a lot of speculation that I know she worked with Raphael in the past. Raphael has a new rink, so I think we'll be seeing a lot of off-season changes with a lot of skaters across the board. And I would be curious what happens with her. I mean, she's in that program with Tammy and Tom, and that seems really kind of curious what's going on. They have Koreans, they have U.S. skaters. But I'll be curious what happens with Ting, because it seems like she has the kind of potential that I would bank on the most, except for the fact that they need to figure out how to get the two clean programs out of her. And that's kind of the challenge, I think, for her. I think she has the technique. They don't have to worry about her growing and changing so much because she is, she looks like she's more settled. But I thought she also had a really beautiful movement quality. I think she had the best free skate of the event overall.
I mean, yeah, it's just, I would just continue to like really accentuate, like, she has long arms and long legs. Like, use up. Like,
she's really, another one I would send to Lori immediately.
Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah, she's a Lori person for sure. Yeah.
We're gonna go up there for a little while.
Get the Carolina Costner knockoff program. Get the Lisa McKinnon dress. Like all of it.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you. The Gracie Gold article came out. Obviously, you have a long history with Gracie. The New York Times article. A lot of people reading it. We see a lot of stuff with Gracie, with her coach this season, with Vincent. What is your reaction to that on Instagram? Does it worry you? Does it concern you at all when we see? It's just when Gracie was someone that was not very public on Instagram before, and now she's not very public, but her coach is. Does it feel exploitative to you at all?
Does it seem exploitative?
I wouldn't be asking the question if I didn't think it. I'm just putting.
That's clear.
When I saw the videos, it just and then underneath, like the comments underneath, or like what he wrote underneath, it just seemed like he was kind of like setting it up to say we're not gonna compete this year. It was like we're in it for the long haul and like all of that stuff. And my only thing with her is I just hope this is really, if she really wants to do this, I just hope it's her idea. I hope it's her idea. I hope it's what she wants to do. Because I really do believe at this point, or at this stage in your career, when it's quote unquote on the later side of your career, it really has to be your choice. And like, if it's not, then I really believe it probably won't happen. The last couple of years, like, of my skating, it was my choice. I wanted to do it. I wanted to see what could happen. I wanted to go through the process. And so when you finish it, you feel content about it because it was your decision and your choice and something that you love to do, so that you can eventually at some point in time step away from it. And I know stepping away from it can be a scary thing. It is a scary thing. But it happens, at some point in time, it has to occur. Mm-hmm. So, the last time I spoke to her, she said that she enjoyed skating, and she enjoyed training again. That was a little while ago. That was before Russia. And so, I don't know, I felt like this New York Times article was really honest, and it felt honest. I hope it was honest, and I hope it was freeing for her to like just let all that stuff out, so that at some point you can like take all that experience and those troubles and like, she could really capitalize on using all of that experience and like hardship and put it into the work that she does moving forward and put it into her skating. It could be a really powerful tool if she shifts it, we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, I think the New York Times article, to me, I felt like if she ever really wanted to write and be honest about her experiences, about everything, that she could have one of the bestsellers of sports memoir of all time, with all the different things that she could hit on there. I think people are definitely rooting for her. I think that...
whatever that means.
Well...
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think that you want to see it in the right way, and I think that some of the comments that Vincent has made under Instagram is what I find troubling, when he's talking about just some of the things that he writes, and that's, I don't know.
I just hope that team, like whatever that team is, the people that she's surrounding herself with are speaking to her really honestly and like having real conversations about like the future and like the steps that need to be taken. And I hope that it's not just kind of this like, you're going to be a champion, like everything's going to be perfect, and like we're going to do this, and that's cool. It's like we're going to have goals and stuff, but it's like with all of that has occurred in her life, I think it's really important to like take a step back and be super realistic and like really check in with yourself, and also really take your time.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see her do shows. I know Ting goes back and does a lot of club shows, and I'm sure a lot of people would pay for Gracie Gold to skate in their show, and I think it'll be interesting to see if she builds back up in the future.
I mean, it'd be a good experience to do that too, just to get comfortable. Because I think in the article too, like, I mean, she did talk about how it was not the best idea to go to Russia. Mm-hmm. So she kind of did admit that, which I think was a really good start to be like, I like forced myself to go. It was not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that could be rushed, not even from the actual athleticism of training for that kind of level. But I would think also, and Dave and I have mentioned this rush to be like, I'm all better now.
I'm all better. It's all fine.
I'm all better. And it took 2 weeks, and now I'm a new person, and I no longer have sad thoughts. It's like, well, that's not obviously how any of this works. And I do believe she probably was the one who insisted on it, said she wanted to do it. But sometimes you need help assessing those situations when times are tough, I think. Yeah.
Did anyone else stand out to you in the ladies at Nationals? I mean, did anyone else, for either of you, I'm wondering, when you look at...
Well, Dave, I'm curious, sorry, I just don't let anyone talk but myself. The other Hannah, not Hannah Miller, and I'm not recalling
Hannah Harrell.
Yes, she was our pewter medalist, our beloved pewter. I was intrigued because, to me, I don't recall seeing her skate live ever before, and she did seem in this new crop, and I thought she did a nice job here, but I was really encouraged by the future, or for the future of U.S. figure skating, mainly through Alysa and Ting, I think are real stars to invest in, and I just don't know what will happen with Hannah, although it was a delightful long program to experience in the mix of things. Yeah, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for coming, everyone.
I also enjoyed it too. I mean, I think it was, for ladies skating at least, I thought it was refreshing. I mean, you did see more and more triple triples with difficult arm variations, more difficult entrances. I think, I think the younger generation is very aware of what needs to be accomplished in order to like continue to compete on an international level. And I thought there were definitely some gems, like Alysa, like Ting. I thought Hannah did a great job. And that's kind of really, after that, I thought there were other people that did lovely jobs, but
Mm-hmm.
These were the real front runners, yeah.
Those were really the kind of front runners that I think we will see for multiple years now.
Yeah,
I was sad Pooja withdrew because they cited an injury. I guess because I was looking for. I did not see the short live, but I just saw it on the screen. But so that was unfortunate because I was excited to see her live because she's someone I root for as well.
Yeah, I thought overall between the juniors and the lower ladies, there's a lot that needs to be worked on, and I wonder about the coaching situation in the U.S. Continually. Is that in developing well-rounded skaters? It just seems like Hannah has a lot of jumps, maybe not a lot of the second mark. It was funny, a parent pointed out to me that a lot of the skaters from Dallas that work with the Letovs, they often have really up-tempo music and a lot of arms going on, but not a lot of edges and skating going on, but they can jump. So, but it's been interesting that they haven't, transitioned to long-term senior success, despite having lower-ranked skaters. So I think that's something to watch. I continue to think that Star Andrews is someone that has a level of talent in the fact that she clearly, likes the spotlight, but is just not being developed properly on the ice. And the skating skills are not there. Some of the technique could be a lot better. And I wonder, going forward with some of these skaters that get stuck in certain things, what will happen there. So, but it'll be interesting to see kind of who goes forward. I mean, Amber Glenn had one of the greatest short programs that she's ever had at nationals, and then the free skate was not successful. So I'm curious because Amber again is someone who seems like she has a lot of the ingredients that could be really talented to move forward, but there's something holding her back there. So I don't know. With the ladies, it's interesting to see, and I think that there have been so many pockets of everyone has gone to Colorado and everyone has gone, to Raphael, but I think I'm curious if we'll see more people working with Priscilla Hill, working with Kimmy kind of as they move forward, because I think that might be a good option for some skaters as we move forward. So
maybe diving into some other coaching opportunities.
Yeah.
And I just noticed, I mean, my one thing with the skating is I kind of compare it a little bit. You see with the Japanese skaters, a real understanding of where they are on the blade, a real understanding of their transfer of body weight when they're doing crossovers or going from one direction to the next. And I think that's a little ever so slightly forgotten here right now. I think a lot of these skaters have gotten the jumps down, and I would maybe be okay, that's awesome. We're going to spend every single day doing really basic skating exercises.
Yeah.
Just to understand where you are on the blade. Are you on the back of it? Are you transferring to the front of it? On the backward crossovers, is your body weight going towards the inside of the circle as you push the outside leg away, instead of that kind of reach away, the inside leg reaching and then the body weight having to come afterwards? And that just takes so much time. This movement takes so much time to get around the rink instead of really just getting into it, some of those things I think would be so helpful for these young girls because they can get the job done. I think it actually would just make their lives so much easier.
And when you talk about that, is that something you notice because Sandra was talking about that with Medvedeva, about how she
yeah, same thing when she was talking about that in the most recent episode of it's taking me so long, or it feels so hard to get around the rink.
Mm-hmm.
You really understand where your body weight needs to be in relation to the circle or the edge that you're on. It would just, then all of a sudden you're slingshotting around the ice.
Yeah.
You're zooming around.
I think with Zagitova's Lutz, when you see how much she changes her body weight just to get into the air on the triple Lutz, it's not a shock.
Yeah.
It's that center. It's that center of gravity just seems to get high, but it's exactly for the reason you're talking about. The nexus of it is coming from the weight on the blade.
Yeah, the weight on the blade. So.
Well, let's talk about the men's event, Scott. You were not competing this year. It wasn't, you against Sean Rabbit for that 10th place finish this year, usually. But did you feel the urge to be back out there?
I mean, I actually went skating for the first time right around just 2 weeks ago. And I literally circled around the ice for like 30 minutes and then I got off. But I was like, my skates still fit. I still know how to skate. This is good. I don't think it really, I mean, I'm very content with my decision. I definitely see myself like starting to skate more, going back and skating. I was like, I should at least go once a week, like, and like still have it be a part of my life. But no, I was not really missing all of it, all the national stuff and everything that comes with it.
Well, a lot of your competitors were still out there, but I'm wondering, obviously Nathan had just a million and one quads that were landed cleanly here. But what was your take on the men's event as a whole? Because it seemed like there are so many skaters who are so talented, who are kind of stuck in like lockstep with each other from about 4th to 11th.
Yeah, stuck.
Yeah.
I thought the men's event was good. I really did. Like, Nathan was just like really in a league of his own. I even saw more detail in the programs. I felt like they started bringing some of that back in. The security on the landings seemed like really just absolutely insane. Like, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, he's doing so much. A level of like calmness, like very like calm, cool, sophisticated. Like, he was just like, I mean, it was pretty insane when I was watching it. Even I was like, man, like, it's shocking, like really just incredible. And then, yeah, like, I really loved Jason's short program. I thought there was so much improvement in just like also security of the landings. His triple axel was just like, I have it now, and it's really comfortable. I'm not a fan of the long program. I think the shirt is really terrible. And I think just the packaging of it is just like, I don't think it accentuates him. I think the short program does in such a beautiful way. And I think, there's still a lot of improvement to it. Don't get me wrong, compared to like at the beginning of the season. And I think the change that he's made, I think will be a really good one. You can see improvements. I heard that he was landing some quad sow cows in practices. So like, that's promising too. So he'll just have to work on that long program a little more, I feel like. And then, yeah, the other guys, like, I think they all were doing a fine job. I did not believe there was anything that was like super standout beyond those two. It was really their show, and then everyone was just kind of following afterwards. I was very focused on those two. Really.
What do you make of Vincent and his, if you start there, Vincent, there's so much talk this season about whether or not his jumps are around. There have been some interesting posts from Tom Z about how rotation should be judged, and I just have to start with, I don't agree a lot of times with Tom with the talk about how Vincent's jumps, I think a lot of them do look a little bit short in real time. So
the long program ones I thought were really dicey. But it must be hard too, because in all honesty, when I was watching it, it was like the quad lutz in the beginning. I was like, the kid pretty much almost landed forwards on his toe. It was like, he did not get the initial like pop up. And then the quad flip, I was like, that one was better. But then they don't call the quad lutz under, and then they call the quad flip under. And I can only imagine mentally how that can start to affect you competition after competition after competition, where one's under-rotated, one's not. The one that you might have felt was under-rotated was not under-rotated. The one that you felt was perfectly clean is called under,
and that was really the point of Tom's statement when he made that. It wasn't just a, woe is Vincent, they're so mean about his calls. He was just saying he felt like calls were so outrageously inconsistent from competition to competition. And like you're saying, even within the competition, how are you calling this? Now, total layman and just without the slow-mo replays, I thought the short program looked, to my untrained naked eye, like pretty okay. And then I wrote something where I was like, oh, those look pretty good. And then everyone was like, no, they were a nightmare, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess this was the example we've talked about before. Like, to the eye, from where I was sitting in the stands, I was less offended. But certain times in the free skate, you were like, oh, well, I'm on the other side of the rink and I could even see that one, you know. So I was in a bit, I don't know, I was surprised he ended up as safely in second as he was.
Yeah.
For me.
I have to say, I still struggle with his components and just the way his overall skating skills, where he is on the blade, the interpretation of music. I just don't really see it. And I know he's supposed to be working with Mia Hamada again. They've reached out to her to work with her. He's worked with her in the past. I think there's a lot that needs to be improved if he really is to compete with the top men in the world. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think that if they don't make some changes with the technique of just how he points his toe in the air to land his jumps and with the basic skating, I wonder if he's kind of maxed out. It seems like they keep forcing more and more quads, but they aren't rotated cleanly. So...
But even compared to last year, he was a smidge faster. Yeah. Just a smidge, but he was. It beat being the exact same or a smidge slower, I suppose. Like, I feel like they're trying to find the information. It's just maybe some of the people aren't interested in helping him at this juncture, you know?
So funny. And we were talking about YouTube. You mentioned Jason's shirt, and all season I've been thinking there have been a lot of programs where if you watched skating like 18 years ago, these were all group numbers and Stars on Ice that the Canadian choreographers keep bringing back. Like the Elvis program that Marie France did for Madison Chock was a Stars on Ice group number. Jason's program that David did was a Stars on Ice group number. And they had like a different Simon and Garfunkel design that I think would look a lot better on Jason. Like the stripes and the way that it's cut makes him look like boxy.
Really boxy. It's wide because there's just like a rectangle coming right down his like center, and then the smaller lines just go even wider than his body. And so it's just really it's unflattering. And
for someone who makes such pretty pictures in his positions, you're denying us that full aesthetic on it then.
And like the short program, that's sleek, it's very form-fitting, it's all in black with some detail to it where you see all of his lines and it just capitalizes on everything. Yeah. It was points across the board. I was like, I'm all for this.
He must believe in what he's doing more, because he definitely looks more trained and just more confident. I mean, the fact that he nails that triple flip every time in the short program for +3, +4, +5 GOE is really telling, I think, just in his overall confidence level. He seems like he connects with Tracy Wilson really, really well. And
he had a rough warm-up. Gosh, I think this was maybe before this was before the short, and he was taking some tumbles, and to see Tracy call him over and be so sweet, because I was just in like a direct line of sight, and she just was like super matter of fact. You know, they just shook it off. He went around, did another clean one, and then it was great in the program. And I thought, whatever this is, even if it's just supportive or something, it's working. It's working like incredibly well. And the landings were clean. There was more height than I'm used to seeing in the jumps. There was more speed, even in general. He always had great skating skills, but he was like flying across the ice and filling up so much more than I thought. So
and it looks like they added a little bit of a difficult entrance into the triple axel. There's now some steps into it before he takes off, which is nice to see, instead of just like the big arc and kind of like a little bit of a telegraph. So there's like totally like major improvements, I felt.
I think he was kind of the most improved. I honestly thought last year that if he didn't make a change, his career looked like he had maxed out, and it looked rather like he was at a dead end. And it seems like he really made a smart move. And I think Tracy has really, had a good influence on him. I thought Tomoki actually is looking much, much better. I feel like if Tomoki could get a really good program, we could see him be much more competitive. I was really impressed that he did as well as he did here throughout both programs, because he's kind of been one of those guys that's been around, has had potential from when he was with, Alex Arashev, and it just has not come to fruition, but it seems like this was a huge step forward for him.
This was like a pretty special and like epic thing, so
Yeah, I thought it was. I watched his programs at nationals, and I watched some of his like junior Grand Prix ones from this season as well. I just love one thing I really like about his skating is that it's like he's fully invested.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're gonna give him a move, he's gonna do that move to 100%. To the point where he would, like, in some of the earlier events, I mean, was like kind of sliding all around in the choreography and was like tripping and doing all that stuff because he was just like trying to do it full out, you know. And it was nice to see that it like really kind of came all together here. I mean, there's still things to work on, like some of that camel position that he's like trying to hit, and the flying camel is really challenging to look at. And some flexibility.
That's a nice way to say that, Scott. That was very diplomatic. Okay, yeah.
A really challenging way to like look at, some flexibility could be like worked on in order to like the knees would not completely straighten. But I thought overall it was, I mean, really beautiful quads, really nice triple axles. Can get the triple toe done off of anything. More security on the landings, which was really nice to see. Yeah, I thought it was great to get. I thought it was a big moment for him, and it was awesome.
He was one on the Grand Prix, Dave, right? Where he would, there would be like an amazing program and then a less amazing program. Because I think he won one and then got really buried in the other, and it was just kind of nice to see it kind of line up for him. So I hope his trip to 4 continents is a successful one for him, because I think it could really solidify kind of a placement as this right behind the pack here domestically.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting with the skaters that are really starting to take ownership of their career, because there's a weird vibe going on. I don't know if you notice in as much as these skaters are all training together in Colorado, some of them seem to have more of a bromance, and it seems to be more of a social thing rather than a competitive thing. I think with Camden and with Torgashev and with some of these other skaters where they have not stepped forward to really take ownership of their careers. You know, you see a Jimmy Ma, like he's someone with a lot of potential. There's stuff to work on, but he has not, taken that next
honed
step.
It. Yeah.
And I think with a lot of these skaters, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, Camden Pokinen made the Junior Grand Prix final, had a disastrous long here. He's obviously someone that has a lot of potential, but there's obviously a lot to work on. So I would be really curious to see which of these skaters make moves, and I think the ones that don't will probably be stuck in the same place next year, and the ones that make moves will be more successful.
Yeah, and it's like you say, Dave, I'm used to this like crop right here, and they seem to just be doing more of the same, and I would love for some of them to have kind of a breakthrough kind of moment, because so many of them skate really well. Some of them provided some really lovely moments, and then would kind of turn around and just let it get away from them. So
now, what is your take on Nathan against Hanyu? I'm curious both, because Johnny Weir, I think, got a lot of hate mail because he said that he thinks that if Nathan skates this way, he will run away with the world title, and Hanyu's fans were not about to hear that. And I think my take is, how often do two men skate that well? So what is your take on Nathan and his, chances going forward and what this means?
I mean, he won the Olympic long program, doing a program of like similar nature. And I think it's totally possible. I mean, he does not still quite have the same presence that Hanyu can bring to a performance, but it's also clear that, I mean, I hope I don't get hate mail for this either, but Hanyu has also a little bit of a sloppiness to some of his movements. And so, with the injuries and whatever is going on there could absolutely be a window of opportunity for Nathan to capitalize on this momentum that he obviously has.
Yeah.
And it's really all in his favor right now.
And truly, it's one of those rare moments where it will come down to who gives the winning performance. Yeah, I don't know that it's just...
Who's given the opportunity. Who's given the opportunity at the right time.
It's interesting, too, like, when you're aware of kind of how the skating media works, but there was a lot of just BS kind of around Nathan being coached over FaceTime and how it's working and everything like that. And I think if you look at the facts, I mean, you look at how much time Nathan has actually spent with Raphael lately. He went with him to Russia before his second Grand Prix. They spent the week together at the Grand Prix. They worked together for the final. He spent weeks back there. So he spent a lot of time with Raphael recently and was very successful. He's going to go back to Yale and then go back to kind of peak before the World Championships. So I'll be curious to see what level, if he can, come down and then peak again for the World Championships. But looked a lot better. His technique was starting to get dicey, I think, throughout the fall. And he's I thought the spins had more attention to them. The jumps were so crisp here. I don't think he could do much better. But I thought that it was funny that Raphael acted unimpressed by his performance in the free skate. It just looked like a Raphael classic quote. So,
and I think it's smart that he doesn't, because he's not going to four continents, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's super smart to go back to school for a second, decompress. Also, he does so much on his body, maybe give his body a little bit of a break and then amp back up for Worlds, which is really important.
This turnaround has got to be brutal. I mean, I know there have been even more brutal ones, but this is...
I can only imagine. Yeah.
You have to imagine the showdown between Nathan and Hanyu will be pretty epic at Worlds, should they both go, because they are coming for each other. They both have... Yeah.
Which is great skating. That's amazing that we have two marvelous talents that will do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so. I'll be curious to see what happens there, because I think I agree with you that Hanyu obviously has more presence than Nathan. I think the one impressive thing about Nathan is that if you compare him 2 years ago to now, his presence has obviously grown leaps and bounds from where he was 2 years ago. But yeah, I'll be curious to see what that does. But let's talk about the pair event, because this was kind of the Grand Dame where a lot of the drama came in at Nationals. And I thought, the broadcast of the free skate was classic Wide World of Sports stuff with the crying and the cheering, and we have a new pageant queen. So let's start with our girl Deanna Stellato, because she's in our age range. So
I love Deanna Stellato being in probably my age range only, you guys.
Yes.
Nice try.
So Scott, usually we have skaters that are really cookie cutter with their whole persona that act like pageant queens. But what was your take on the Deanna Stellato intensity at Nationals?
I thought the whole pairs event had I had anxiety watching the programs. They were so intense.
Yes.
To the point where I really felt that's why there were these mistakes that were coming in. The timing was off because they were it was just so much, and everyone's mouths were really open skating. I was I'm the champion, and I was okay, great, awesome. Let's do our job. Let's really get the job done. And you could tell in all of the performances, as the program was getting better and better, it just got more and more we're gonna make this moment happen. And when I was just have the moment, just do the job.
Yeah.
But they were all trying to create this big thing, and then you got these really silly mistakes because you were trying to force something to happen.
They were.
I felt she got off the ice, and you could tell she was that is my favorite part. That is my favorite lift. And you can it's okay. You made it. I mean, she did technically make it work. They got her up, and the lift technically did happen, right? So
they missed a level. Okay,
yeah,
she's upset.
She missed a level because the hands got slippy, right? So they couldn't confidently make the position.
So it was you made it work.
The funniest part of that entire Deanna Stellato thing, and we got messages asking it to be broken down frame by frame, but the funniest part is that Nate is celebrating like it is the performance of his life, and Deanna is so ticked. Yes.
Yeah.
Pissed over one lost level. I mean,
but she's doing the math. It's a bit Megan Duhamel this way. She's already, the minute she's up in the air in that lift, you can't help but wonder, some of these girls are okay, lost lift. Okay, that's about 4 points here. We lost a level on this way, but I am going to do this level. You see the wheels working, and then it's as if she just she knows ahead of time, ahead of the people around her, exactly how it's going to play out now. And she's just able to react sooner than everyone else because she's already there. Yeah.
Well, but I think her point was that she thought that they were going to get screwed over for continents based on how things went in the fall, and then it happened, and she was sitting there in the Kristen Cry being like, I knew it. I predicted it. And it was just hysterical. And then she gave the press conference quote, just of all time, when she was talking about how there aren't going to be any good German teams there, and there are only going to be 2 Chinese, so if we don't get 2 spots back, it's not going to happen. So that was kind of an amazing...
But what I love about her is it's someone who, Scott, as you're talking about, like, now I'm outside of this very insular world. And it starts to provide you with perspective. So when you go back to it, I would think you have a different point of view than a lot of those people immediately around you. And she seems to just get it, having been outside, having lived life, being a realist. Yeah.
She knows what's going on. It's like, let's be really honest about what is happening here, and I super appreciate that too. It's like we're gonna get real about what's gonna happen if I don't do the job.
Yeah.
Or I don't because I think she really knew that she needed to go that extra mile in order to get past some of maybe the puzzle pieces that are kind of
Yeah, I wondered too how much, and I don't really want to go into it too much, but I wonder if how much everything that was happening on social media affected some of the skaters. Maybe Alysa and Chris, where, Chris is having Twitter arguments with people, and then, they didn't seem as focused when they're skating well, and, he has a wrist injury, and there's just seems to be a lot that's been going on in the entire season, not just the week before Nationals. There was also something that happened on the warm-up between Alysa and Delilah, where Alysa was like trying to block Delilah, like standing. Like there was just a lot of history going on. Periphery
distractions for what is very clearly a dangerous sport with dangerous elements. I mean, the vibe in the arena was very odd the minute Alysa and Chris had all of those when clearly the energy was wrong. What happened during their program made everyone nervous. And, they say sometimes whole flights can be incredible or imploding, depending on what the energy in the rink is set like. And everyone in the same particular area of the rink was having a lot of lift issues. It's where Tara and Danny had their lift issues. It's one of the places Alysa and Chris had their lift issue. It's where Deanna and Nate almost missed hands. Like there was something like 11 botched lifts or something like that, which for me, having attended and watched skating for so long, this was unprecedented. And that you could tell that everyone's shoulders were up. Something was very nervous in the arena. Yeah, it was a strange event. And those lifts, you forget how scary they are until you see everyone really start to falter back to back in them, that you're like, ugh, I don't want to be here for a bad moment in a lift. I don't want to be at that competition, Yeah.
I think with Alysa and Chris too, ever since they've split with Aliona, it just seems like they have not seemed as confident. They have not seemed just as driven as we've seen in the past. And I think you notice it more with Alysa, because if she's on, the team does really well. And if she is not on, it seems nervy. And I think that this was this was as mental as anything. I think that if they have everything organized and prepared for next season, that this could light a fire, or it could just continue to spiral. I mean, this performance seemed more like a downward spiral result of just things being unsettled rather than anything technical. I mean, for them to miss a twist is pretty unusual.
Yeah, I mean, it seems both programs just really distracted.
Yeah,
and even like to me, it was as well as like the demeanor afterwards too. Is like there were like really odd like smiles, like not kind of like knowing that this would happen, but and then she did that triple toe in the long program and just landed totally forwards and just kind of, it seemed very kind of like, almost like, can we just like kind of get this over with?
Yeah.
Let's start again next year. You know, let's step away for a second.
And it's one of those things, like you were talking about with Gracie or something like that, that it's okay for things to take time.
Yeah.
And I saw so much hope in Oberstdorf with Aliona, and then ever since that, whatever happened there happened, I almost wish they had just sat out for a little bit and regrouped, because I think then there's a rush to be ready, and you're just making it, I think you run the risk of having more experiences that impact you negatively as they build up, you know? So I wish they could just take some time. If he does indeed need surgery, which if that is the case, I'm not quite sure that listing them as an alternate for any competition is doing anyone any favors. Take the time. Do it. Do it now. Chillax. Relax. Yeah. Regroup later. You don't have to have the answer right now.
Just like how I feel like, just how I feel it seems, unless maybe it was rushed, I don't know, but it seems to me that like Maddie and Evan really took time to take care of themselves before they came out to those events. And I think, I mean, it's a real example of it coming out feeling healthy and like that grounded, confident. And I think people should take note of like the 9 months that she really took to take care of herself.
I think too, you have to look at the coaching situation. If you want to go to Montreal, first of all, you have to be admitted. They have to accept you, which is not easy. And then you have to do everything that they tell you. And that's the decision you make when you go there. And it just seems like when you watched Alexa and Chris in the Kiss and Cry with Jenny and Todd, there's not a lot of chemistry going on. You know, there's just not who's running the show, what's happening. It's just very bizarre, you know, all season. So... And
it's a tough job for Jenny and Todd to just have this high functioning team just drop in your lap, kind of in the middle of what was a competitive season. You probably don't want to futz with anything. You're kind of there, but you're kind of wondering about the boundaries and your placement. Like I would imagine it's just a confusing situation still.
The one thing that was really confusing to me, I think, in the pair event is that you look at Haven and Brandon. First of all, I didn't think that she rotated the Salchow on the short. I didn't think Tara did either, but Haven's I thought was more glaring. And then, I mean, a single axle in the free skate, we know that they struggle with the jumps, and I just don't know. I think that they have a lovely program, but I don't know how you can really promote that and give it the silver medal when you know that the jump elements aren't there ever. And I don't understand. I thought that they got promotional points and there was political favor behind them that I was confused by, because I didn't see the inherent logic there of why you would promote. Like, I get why Tara and Danny would get points. They medaled in France. They did a really overall successful season. But Haven and Brandon, it hasn't been there for several seasons, and I don't know why we're suddenly pretending that the jumps are there when they're not. So.
To me, the single axles were really like, you know, for a while, like when. For a while, I was putting a double loop in my programs, and Frank was like, "We're gonna make it the best double loop that you can possibly do." And I just like, I mean, they're at nationals, and I would have just like, I mean, it felt very throwaway. They were very small. I mean, those were tiny single axles, and I was like, can the double axle even occur?
I don't remember the last time we saw her.
It looked like it was not planned. Like the intent was to do this. It's how she warmed them up. And I mean,
but even just like, I mean, you could have just like, I just felt like, oh, well, let's like at least like zoom down the ice and do giant single axles with nice arms like over the head on the landing, or do something to like show that like, you know, that this is just a planned thing, but we're going to make it a really beautiful planned thing and not just a
throwaway.
Yeah, let's do it really quickly, move on.
And it's interesting because there's a lot of group think that happens with the judges at nationals and knowing who they are and how they chat. And I had one judge in 2016 tell me that she was not going to be voting for Alexa and Chris because she thought that Chris was a mess. And the next year, the same judge told me that of course we're going to send them to Worlds. They're clearly the best team. And you thought, like, what happened in the interim? They did medal at 4 continents, but they were not successful at Worlds at all. And then they didn't compete all fall, but now suddenly they're the best. Like, the opinions change on people, and they start to listen to each other, and there's not a lot of independent thought going on. So it's just, it's interesting when you see the national politics happen. I just don't understand how Haven and Brandon, they have a great twist, but when you don't have 2 of the jumping elements in the free skate, I mean, they have nice lifts, but there's just the competitiveness.
In an event where no one did. I mean, that was, it's a weird thing. And then when I go back, it was one of the programs that the minute, I don't mean to sound rude, but the minute it was finished, I kind of forgot what they had skated to, what some of the elements were. It just didn't make an impact on me as a viewer, where unfortunately, I mean, we can say whatever we want about Nate's posture or something, or the speed, although Deanna and Nate are faster this year than they were, I would assume it's something they can still strive for, because we know Deanna can probably skate a great deal faster than that. But I just think that at least there was a presence and a personality to it. And it kind of, they created a moment. And the moment was confusing then, I think, for the arena when it wasn't rewarded, because even though second place may have skated some cleaner lifts or something like that, it didn't have that moment. So
yeah, I wonder, like, if Jim doesn't see it with Nate, because he's coached him so long, that I wonder if he hasn't seen the posture, because you look at someone like Danny, who has beautiful skating skills, and you look at Nate, who looks kind of like a hockey player when he's doing lifts, and Jim sees this every day. He's coached him for a long time. I mean, Brandon Fraser did go to work with Marina. I still don't think that Haven and Brandon have great skating skills, but at least he made the attempt. And you look at Nate and you're like, what are you not seeing to improve? I mean, like, Scott, like, how often would Frank pay attention to the posture and those sort of things?
Every day. It was an everyday thing, you know, it really was. It was an everyday thing. The first thing he would ask me to do is to go around the rink and hold the landing position for as long as possible. You know, it was just like, these are the things that are like fundamental to skating.
Scott, I never want to see that landing position again.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, it's just like really simple things. And I think like that's where, like, I know, because the problem is they can be really boring to do. Like, I get it, like holding landing positions and like doing those really simple things, like practicing holding a camel spin for as long as you can, you know, like, and like trying to stretch it out more. Like sometimes simple is better, you know. It's like, and we would work on those things. We would work on our footwork sequences before we got to any of the jumps, you know. It's just like, these are the things we're going to do every day, so that you get to a place where they're at like a really high level.
But you would always have like some of the best posture in any event. But did you come to him that way? My thing is, I understand where you take someone with good posture and make it incredible posture. But I'm curious when you're really, and I do this, so I'm curious, when it's really hunchy by nature, how much work can it really be reversed that much? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I came to him after working with Nathan Birch on simple skating exercises and posture and understanding music and all of that for 10 years of working with him before we decided to go and have programs done by Lori. And also Lori in the same boat. I mean, Nathan and Lori toured together, you know, they all were in that kind of same camp and like learning of like skating, you know. And I, you know, so when I got to Frank, it was, just accentuating the attributes that I'd already worked on from when I was 11 years old when I started working with Nathan.
Yeah, probably one of the reasons he took you too.
You know, maybe, you know, and possibly, you know.
Now let's talk about the Tara Cain situation. This was one of the most interesting free skates.
Okay, this is the last thing I can talk about, and then I gotta go teach.
Yes.
I talk about this though, and then I gotta go.
Scott, have you ever seen someone just react this way in a performance where the lift did not happen, and Tara was not happy, and we knew it, and it was just a very unusual skating performance?
Yeah, I emotions are super high. Like, I know it too. I understand what is going on at that time at nationals, the way you're feeling. So I definitely have a soft spot for when things don't go well or not the way that you want them to. The work that's being put in order to have moments. I was very confused by the reaction that was happening. I really didn't know what was going on. The sob, like the uncontrollable sobbing that was happening when the score came up, was uncomfortable to watch, because I didn't really understand where it was coming from. I know that there's been a lot of changes this year, and I think they'd been working really hard, and I think the beginning of the program was going well, although not perfect. And again, it was like in a similar state of some of the other pairs of like forcing a moment to happen. And I just, like, it seemed like, she was trying to like force this big moment to occur that wasn't quite occurring. And then the timing got off, and she messed up, they messed up, I don't know where the timing got off, but they went up and it was not going to happen. And it just, from afterwards, he was upset. It looked like he was upset about the mistake he made.
He looked stunned.
He looked pretty shocked. Like, it doesn't seem like something that happens, and it happened. Competitions weird mistakes love to happen at competitions. Because your energy is different. Your, adrenaline's different. Everything is different.
And it really just looked like she went too early on the lift.
Yeah, he was so excited, and she just like jumped up, and all of a sudden it was like, never mind, we're going to happen.
I'm going to challenge you on that, because I don't think she jumped up. I think she went to get into position, because one of the things we've noticed when I took a closer look, it feels like, because at first I was like, wait a minute, is this a cutting edge?
Just really looked at
One more time. Yeah, I was like, I'm looking closely, and we have, contemplated that it looks like when a masseuse or like an Alexander Technique person or something is like, give me the weight of your head if you're like doing table work or something, and they're like, no, you're still holding your head, give me the weight of your head. I think Tara Cain excels at giving the weight of her head to a masseuse in that moment, and I think she just kind of was like, okay, here's the lift, I'm ready, body weight. And I felt like Danny in that particular situation, Danny, who I'm biased against because I just adore his skating, I was like, this doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, it doesn't have a chance.
But unfortunately, the narrative made it seem like he messed up. And I am not a pairs girl. I cannot say. But to me, it looked like she may have, like we were saying, tried to force a moment, got overeager, and was not in the right position and helping with her body weight at the right moment in the lift. And I thought, geez, the minute they came down, go back up, do something. Deanna at least knew, just get me up there, I'll do something. It'll get us at least a level 3. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a bit unfortunate.
It was game over at that point for that lift. I mean, there was no hope, unfortunately. But I think, what makes them so interesting is the fact that some of these pair girls are so hot-tempered is what makes them such interesting competitors. But I think that, it was kind of her mistake. Also, the Salchow, it was hers as well. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with them at Four Continents, because they did get the spot. It's going to be a tough field there with a lot of top pairs. So I'll be curious to see if they can do well. I thought that they looked more confident, but she's still, when they're skating, she's not bending at the knees. She bends at the hip. So that's him doing a lot of the pulling. So
that transfer of weight, like she reaches the leg and then tries to get the rest of her body to go with it afterwards. It's not, the upper body and the lower body are not working in a unit to get her to accelerate across the ice like Danny does. Yeah. And so hers looks like a lot of effort. It's like trying to become more efficient. Mm-hmm. If she became more efficient with her edges and the power that she's trying to create, they would really accelerate, because they do have really nice qualities. And so again, trying to understand that transfer of weight, the center of gravity, where you are on the blade. Again, it's like we're looking at trying to do really difficult things, but if we don't understand how we stand on these blades, like we can only go so far.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you, Scott. Go.
That's my last thing. Also, I mean, everyone works really, really hard, and like nationals is its own beast, and like, you know, stuff happens, but you know, I love them all. I skated with so many of them for years and years and years. So like, love
respect.
you all. Yeah. Respect for anyone who goes out there, like 100%. Because I get it. So, anyways, that's my thing. Thank you guys so much.
Nice to see you, Scott.
Yes. Bye. So, all right. So, Jonathan, we are just going to keep making it happen. We're not going to force it to happen. We're going to make it happen. We're
going to let and trust the process. Again, you know, I know we kind of make a silly spiel that I'm so enamored by Danny's skating skills, blah, blah, blah. And again, I have made my point a couple times that I think that Shaylin did incredible work for them with the Swan Lake, and I so preferred the original short program they started this season with. And to me, when you replace that material with what it was replaced with, it sends a message to me like you don't even know and or appreciate what you have. And so that was a bit unfortunate, I would say. And just on a side trivial note, as packaging does make a difference, Danny has a receding hairline situation or a thinning situation, which who cares? I don't care. But he came out with like dyed.
He uses a spray, Jonathan. So did Brian Boitano. Okay, like it's real life.
And I would have said the same thing about that too. But to me, in real life, no one cares. What I did care is I saw a strange attempt to make an apology for something you did not need to make an apology to. And that was just a side silly note because I think he has nothing to apologize for. There you go.
I'll be curious to see what happens with this team going forward. It just seems like there's a lot of...
Would you want to go to 4 continents at this juncture if you were them? I wouldn't.
I don't know. It depends on how you're feeling. If you could be feeling devastated, or you could be chomping at the bit to get back out there and show that you can do it. And that would really depend on how your training was going before and how just emotionally you're feeling. I think that nationals can take a lot out of you. I think for some teams like Haven and Brandon, I think nationals is as good as it might get. So I don't think I would want to. I think for Ashley and Tim, it's curious too because, look, they had the free skate of their lives at nationals. They deserved to win.
At the right time.
At the right time. They pulled it off.
Changed the energy, yeah.
They pulled it off. They had, obviously, coming back from concussion, coming back from all of that. And they talked a lot about their mental strength and how they did it. For someone like them, it's curious to go to 4 continents in the sense of they don't have a large reserve of training because there was that delta of time when they were off the ice. To get back nationals, it can take a lot out of you to then build back up for 4 continents, or they could feel good and just want to keep going and act like before never happened. But I'm curious to see if the training reserve was there. I know that they've been working really hard all season, and I think that they believed it. You could tell that they really wanted it all season, and they really willed it to happen. So
the minute they started, you're like, oh, they're going to take it now. They pivoted the entire energy in the arena and just made a moment when really, as spectators, we needed it. Mm-hmm. And I think the event was in desperate need of that performance. So it was really nice to see them be able to do that. Again, would you take the time now between nationals and worlds to kind of come back down, reassess, come back? And talk to me about world points.
So you need, obviously, ISU points. All of these pairs are going for it. Helps you with where you are seated. It helps you with your Grand Prix. So I think for Ashley and Tim, they're not Megan Newhamel and Eric Radford, where they have so many points for years and years and years, and so many gold medals. So they do need to go. I think for them, the difficulty is you just had such a high. You just had the biggest of highs, and you don't have that training bank behind you. There's a lot of pressure on them at Worlds, and they have time to go forward. It is a risk to go to 4 continents in the sense of...
What if Tara and Danny pull out all the stops and then place ahead of you? That's a tough...
Or what if you feel the fatigue? What if you feel the fatigue and the performance is not as good? Does it kind of kill that momentum? But I think that they're working with Nina Mosier. They may feel really confident and they may go in there and do well. I just think it's going to be a really interesting competition. It's in Anaheim. It's close to nationals. Sui and Han are going to be there taking up
Kirsten Moore-Towers is going to be there.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people taking up a lot of oxygen. So I think that it's going to be a really intense event. But I think that it's kind of their moment. So
they're riding it.
Yeah.
The other thing, seeing it in person, Dave, and I talked to you a little bit about this off air, we're seeing the different kinds of throws in person, in addition to speed and all this sort of stuff. It's fun to see that. And it was interesting. The only people that were really maximizing, actually, the trajectory plus the height were Alexa and Chris, kind of, And then other ones, you would see Deanna and Nate achieve tremendous height and then kind of come, but it lacked a bit of that amplitude or whatever.
So they're getting height but not distance, and it happens in their short program. It's happened all year. Again, it's like you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you're not getting a different result. So it was funny because that judge Charlie Sear, we were told, was like trying to correct Jim on
lend a helping hand, literally. Yeah. But the other ones like Haven and stuff like that, and
they have smaller
even
throws.
Jim and Ashley, but they get the
distance.
The distance is just not the height a little bit. So I would think it would be easier to. I don't know.
But if you see when Deanna comes down on the loop, a lot of times, like it's kind of like she's coming down hard on the knee, and then obviously can't get the ride out on the landing, and that's where the mistake happens. So. That's something that they need to fix for next season. I think that there are a lot of coaching offers going around in the U.S. too. Mitch has definitely been trying to bring in outside talent and their coordination, and there are different coaches, I think, that will be potentially moving to the U.S. or at least have had the options. So it'll be interesting to see not just Robin Sokoi, but other talented coaches. I think we'll see who goes where and what happens. So I think there could be a lot of interesting things happening.
Changes ahead, yeah.
Yes. Danny O'Shea, who knows? Maybe you could skate with him next year, Jonathan.
Oh, my God. No, he has to get in line. I'm applying to the Italian Federation.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to ask you about the ice dance because this was interesting to me, how this event.
I was interesting to me, my takeaway from some of these. This was unexpected.
Do you remember like a year ago, Hubbell and Donohue kind of had that outsider-y vibe to them, and then this year they were completely like, we expected to win. Just how much they've changed as people in a year is mind-blowing. Yeah. Also, their material last year was like the fresh, the sharp, the moment.
Outsider. Yeah. The outsider. The Vanessa and Morgan kind of approach.
And this year, this free dance has not worked for me all season, and it just seems to go from bad to worse. This was maybe a little bit better than the final, which I thought was horrific in terms of the music edit, but this edit is so strange to me, and it just seems like an idea that you've tried to, again, force to happen, that has just been a strange free dance all year. On the broadcast, she was talking something about Fosse, so maybe we'll see something really different for the future.
Which I would love, because, they're still learning with them also. So maybe they were like, let's try something a little more this direction this season. And then ultimately they may swing the pendulum back, because I'm sure they're noticing also, but at certain points it must be like, well, we're in it now. We're committed to seeing this through.
They were always the more edgy team, and it seems like they wanted to be the more establishment team, and it just did not fit. Like, it cut away everything that made them interesting. I thought what was interesting is that, so Karina and Joe had the buzz. Look, they're the first openly LGBT team with both partners, and they really had fun with it, and they had that inventive program. And it was interesting because I was watching it and I was thinking, like, this is the program that Hubbell and Donohue should have.
That's exactly what I literally turned to the people next to me and I was like, see, that's the kind of, if Hubbell and Donohue had done something in this vein, that it would have been a home run.
Yeah.
I mean, but it looks still like it is a home run because they're winning the Grand Prix final and they're winning nationals again. But for the energy they exude and I don't know if I said this on air ever, just to you, like, it's like they came down from Olympus. Like, they have this larger than life energy shooting out of them. It's athletic. One stroke, they're on the other side of the rink. It's just incredible power that when you said you saw Megan and Eric, when they hit, the athleticism of what they're doing creates an effect. It creates an energy. And if they could hone on that instead of apologize for that, like some people really dislike that intense, like A Tale of Two family or whatever it is. The whole opening is so intense and fiery that it turns some people off. But I was like, I'm here for it because it's delivering the intensity and that epic feeling that their skating makes me feel. And then it was too much of a softening in a less specific way.
To me, okay, so if you've seen the movie, you know that both pieces are in it. But as a piece of art, they just don't go together. It's just random. It's like when you watch the Great Gatsby programs and the beginning and there's no transition into it and it just does not make, it's not cohesive and it's not effective. And I think the problem that they are facing is that, yes, they are the strongest technical skaters other than the French, right? So they are, on one hand, primed for silver because they have power, good skating skills, great technique, and they have a lot of confidence. Unfortunately, in dance is all about performance. It's all about getting the crowd, in addition to beautiful skating skills and wonderful technique. But the thing that they're really going against is the fact that Piper and Paul have that free dance that people just connect with, that carries the audience, that carries the judges. It's just the right thing. It's kind of the kind of free dance that Hubbell and Donohue had last year that really carried them, or the year before. Unfortunately, they don't have it this year. Weaver and Poget have a more magical free dance, and they have another aesthetic. Now, Hubbell and Donohue are better technicians than either of them, but they're coming to the table with a free dance that leaves people a little flat. And I just don't think that there's anything that is going to remedy that between now and Worlds. So they really have to win next week convincingly, and then they have to ride this wave. But they're in a position where to win the silver medal, I almost feel like it's more of a defense in some respects, because they're against now 2 Russian teams and the Italians and 2 Canadian teams, and Chock and Bates are improved. So if they make any mistakes, they're really vulnerable. And it's just because it comes down to material in that sense. And I don't think that there's much that you can do.
And I understand, of course, I have always appreciated Hubbell and Donohue the most. Consistently, for me, they just always had something different to say. But I will tell you what, the thing that blew my mind was how much I enjoyed Madison and Evan.
It was all about that burn and love, right? Where's the character step?
All about all of it. Suddenly they came out very fast. They were so incredibly quick, so slick in their movements. And they were packaged beautifully. They looked great. Like, her dress was killer. He's never looked better. And I just thought, like, this was the moment. This is the material as it relates to them. It again, the power I appreciate of Hubbell and Donohue much more. And it's right that the core skating was rewarded, but with the programs and the material themselves, for me, my evening belonged to Madison and Evan. And I am the first to own that I long didn't appreciate them. And what the changes they've made made me appreciate that.
I always
changed my mind.
Well, I have to say, the Elvis was interesting until I saw it, and I have to say that it really brought out a character in both of them, especially in Madison. And I think that that's something where we always talked about her charisma, her sex appeal, but this was not a sexual. This was just a program that really worked on her performance quality and just really brought it out and shined. It was not tawdry or anything like that. And I think that look, they had a lot of shit programs with Igor, a lot of really American in Paris, the Imagine, just a lot of
razzmatazz. It was a bit smoke and mirrors, kind of showy, and this proved that there is a real substance and quality to the skating also. And Montreal is doing that thing that Montreal does, which is taking maybe a female partner who has weaker skating skills and giving them confidence and the right kind of training.
Her skating is improving. And you could see that her balance over the blade is changing. We talked a little bit about it with Sandra, but you could see it in her and just her overall ride of the edge. So I think that's...
and they took the time. Now, what if they had come out for a Finlandia or a Senior B or something early on?
Look, next year will be interesting. They'll have...
Let's say she took a spill at the beginning. What if they had doubted the entire process instead of committing to it and letting it take the time away that they needed? It was just what Scott was saying, that so that when they did do it, they felt confident in their choice, they felt confident in the material, and they hit the ground running in a way that was completely unexpected for me.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens now that after they go through the World Championships. They obviously seem happy. If they keep working at this pace, I think that next season, they could be a team that starts climbing again. That's not over, that perhaps does have more of a chance. And I have to say that we saw Hawaii and Baker come out so strong at the beginning of the season, but they haven't gotten really the levels in the short dance. And to me, this team, although they won the bronze medal, you wonder, I don't see the same future. They look maxed out just in the patterns, just in the matching of the two of them. It just I don't know how much higher they're going to go.
It's an old topic that we've discussed. Given the height limitation that Jean-Luc has, despite his great edges and knees and things like that, it is what it is. So where I was really seeing it this time was in ice coverage and overall speed. There was a lot of pumping. When you try to, dance does this amazing thing, and when you're really into the story and into the facial expressions and the body lines and the arms, I often have to remember, stop it, look at the feet. And then when I was really looking at the feet, you saw a lot of pushes for speed and things like that that have a real cap on it. Yeah. So the question is, here you have a team that did very well, did make the Grand Prix final, but you also have some teams coming up. At what point is it important for them, McNamara and Carpenter, for example, to send them to 4 continents and kind of give a push to give them some more exposure?
I have to say, I don't think that they have it yet. McNamara and Carpenter, I would send to Wyatt and Baker. I think that there's still a lot to work on with the teams that are right below them, but I think that there is potential, but it's not in the right way yet.
Ready to be encouraged necessarily in giving them those kinds of opportunities.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that inevitably they're all going to get swept up and shipped out to Montreal as well?
No, because I don't think that everyone can go to Montreal, and I think that the pendulums always swing. And I think this year, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe someone left Montreal or someone did that, because look, we saw Caroline and Shane, kind of get lost in the shuffle this year. So I think that the pendulums always swing, and I think someone always is going to need a different individualized approach. And then look at how different just Karina and Joe were, because they had Christopher Dean in an outside point of view and their own training, and they really maximized their uniqueness. And I think that there's always the opportunity for that. And I think that that's something that could really, some of these teams could benefit from as well as training together has its benefits. So, but yeah, again, I thought that Karina and Joe had one of the greatest moments of nationals, and it should have been Hubbell and Donohue's program, especially because Karina has a lot of star power, and she was doing the character step sexy as Joe was doing it kind of goofy. And to me, that wasn't working, but that's just their newness and their freshness. But it was a nice moment for them.
And there were just cool ideas. They would do almost slow-mo arm movements and certain things that created cool effects. And it was just you're holding my interest. You're engaging me. I mean, yes, because of the publicity around them, I think inherently people were going to look at them a little closer than maybe the next team in that same flight. But they deliver. They gave you something worthy of talking about, in addition to their backstory, their skating alone also gave you something to talk about, which was really nice. Yeah.
And they worked it. Look, they had the music, they had the program, they had everything, and I think they need to keep
at it.
Look, they've emphasized they're different. They're standing out, and I think that they just have to keep owning it moving forward. I think that's the way
Jimmy
they'll get...
Ma when Jimmy Ma did Turn Down for What, you are intrigued in a different way than I was when I was watching him falter during Rachmaninoff.
Jimmy needs a new free skate. He's done this for 3 years now. He's super talented. There are clear limitations. And we haven't talked about it, but have you noticed that a lot of people have moved away from the canes?
Yeah.
Krasnozhan.
Right.
Then we saw Tim Dolenski. I would not be surprised if other people moved afterwards. Like, there's a lot, in that camp. So I think... But
I mean, it's like you have a thing, and it ignites you, and it wakes you up. Do more of it.
Yeah.
Do more of it. I love it. Yeah.
Yes. I'll be curious, which people go where. I think that we're going to start to see it in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah. But what was your moment of the Nationals? You were there. I was watching at home, Jonathan. What was your moment?
Seeing Tracy Wilson, obsessed. And really, Jason Short. I love Nathan, and I love everything he's doing. It's not to detract from any of that, but Jason Short created a really magical moment, and I really, really liked that. And I have to say for myself, that the changes that Madison and Evan made and the change they made me feel in that moment about them was pretty cool. To be like, wow, someone made an alteration and I am totally behind them right now. And I didn't expect that. And that was a really fun and unexpected moment. Oh, and Deanna's eyes.
You liked so she said it was 80-20 when we messaged her. She said that 80% of the people loved it, 20% hated it. So,
well, when it was shown on the Jumbotron, it was not the intended view, I think. It was very when you saw it on the Jumbotron, it took my breath away in an alarming way. But the way it appeared on the ice during the program was delightful. And I'm just a fan of real people. So
yeah. I think that the dress wasn't the right color for the Whitney program all year. It needed to look like it was a Jeff Billings kind of Clive Davis-y, glitzy kind of thing, and the green was a weird color, and just the whole aesthetic of it needed to be very Lisa McKinnon, blinged out as can be. And I thought that the pink with the greenish was a little curious, but then when you saw her in the press conference give her real great performance with the pink against the black as she was fluttering those eyes as she was making her points, it was everything. But it was the way she slid that microphone when she wasn't even asked the question. Yes. She really had her Nationals moment there.
Yeah, a real person. Thank you.
It was quite a Nationals, Jonathan. It was really...
It certainly was.
Yeah.
And you know what my takeaway was? I kept dining at that MGM or whatever that they have near there, and it's in a casino, so you can still smoke.
With our opera gaze that you were with?
Yeah, exactly. One of many. But it's and Dina, who helped come on the show and talk Russian pronunciation with us. But literally, I still feel like my coat still smells like cigar smoke. On a boring, unexciting note, it was at the Little Caesars Arena, which, no Kobo, no Joe Louis. And it was actually a really nice venue. Mm-hmm. It was a nice venue to hold a skating event in.
Did anyone hit my itinerary of going to the Motown Museum or the Henry Ford Museum?
No, I was randomly had so much office work to do. I was looking for notaries, and I was just trying to find internet and place I could print things. So I didn't experience any fun stuff in Detroit. It was also very cold, and a lot of people got stuck flying out of the airport.
But I love that our friend Bill was off gambling. He was up $30,000 at one point. And the
MGM, I guess, it's as magical or as unmagical as you'd like to make it.
I heard that you were sitting with Doug Haw. I kept looking for you on TV. I like when you're in the front row because I couldn't see you the way we could see you in St. Paul. And I like seeing you in the front row as we watch games.
Yeah, but unfortunately my lack of a filter makes for fun/horrifying moments. But yeah, we were a little bit up, but great seats because it was right in line with, right across from where the coaches were. So I just watched the coaches the whole time. And
we were at some fabulous skating viewing events.
Also very fun. Less smoky, probably.
Look, we were with some of the Hackensack crew talking about that. We were with a father that takes lessons from Andrew Laverick, and we were getting updates on that. And then he told me that his children take from Nikolai, and I was intrigued. Intrigued.
To say the least, yeah.
We were getting all of the important things, but all the updates. So we'll actually be back in a couple of days because we are also going to discuss the Russian juniors, and we're going to try to get our friend Dina on, because not only are we going to talk about your friend Kosternaya, but Jonathan. So this was brought to my attention at one of our skating parties. So I think it was just kismet that we were there.
Okay. Good musical. Okay.
With our friend Freddie Buddy, as you know, you've met, right?
Great adult skater.
Great adult skater with skating to Tosca in the rink, doing his double flip. With all the extension, with the Alexander method, you could love it, right? Eat your heart out.
Better than Tanya Harding's double flip at 94 Olympic short.
I'll have to get like a video of Freddie in his prime. I'm sure it won't be hard to twist his arm, but we've skated together many a times. But we were watching. It's like a knockoff of The Voice in Russia, but with skating. And it's like 9-year-old, 10-year-old version, like skaters that are clearly coached by a Terry and Danny and Dudikov. Only, what is his name? Averbuk is doing these big production numbers. So someone is like, there's this little boy doing double axel, triple toe, but doing these, he's like laying in a bed, and then he's like, has his wig on with like the Mozart, and the people in the Voice chairs are Tarasova, we're Alexei Mishin. I mean,
oh my God.
And then someone said that they told this 9-year-old girl that she needed a triple and see you later. I mean, we need to discuss this show. This is something that we need to be talking about. This is the kind of performance. Yes. So,
isn't it what you think happens at the test skates anyway? Now they can just have those chairs at the Russian test skates.
I don't know. We need Dina to translate the entire thing, but I'm going to put some links in the description of this video so that we can talk about it. Because
yes, I'm very intrigued. Okay.
Yeah, and if you didn't know, that lift was Deanna Stellato's favorite part.
And you know how she felt about how it went.
So she's referring to the second lift in their program, the one where she goes inverted, and she's kind of doing almost a handstand on Nate, but they were supposed to go 2-1, and she's supposed to be on the one arm, and it didn't happen, so they were on the 2 arm, and yeah.
But I was going to say she thought quick on her feet, but I guess she was on her hands. But she thought quick. That's somebody who is thinking.
That was the Nationals moment where you see someone that's been out of the skating world, and I mean the Ashley Cain press conference. You may have said one of my favorite lines earlier today. Where you said that it sounded like she was in Drop Dead Gorgeous. Isn't that what you said?
Oh my gosh. How unfortunate that this is now being discussed. One of my favorite comedies is a mockumentary about beauty pageants.
With Denise Richards, correct.
Gorgeous. And Denise Richards wins like the regional part of the pageant, and she looks around and she goes, I did it. I won. I am Mount Rose American Teen Princess. And it is almost verbatim with the realization where Ashley Cain realized that she was national champion. She's like, I am national champion. And I was like, Denise Richards, don't get in that swan in the parade.
So people always yell at me for my snark. But Jonathan, I still remember the snarkiest moment that you've had all season happened off camera. No, people will really appreciate it.
I'm going to look around. I'm just going to put this pillow.
Jonathan, what did you say when you heard that Deanna Stellato and Nate were going to be performing to Whitney Houston? What did you say?
I was like, well, she's inviting the reminder that that's probably what she listened to at her high school prom when it was like fresh out. That is not a judgment call. That is just in the same way I would tell, that girl from Britain not to listen to a Handel's Messiah because they were probably playing that at her high school prom. No.
Your friend Zoe Jones? Is that
yes. That's just a joke. I'm old, blah, blah, blah. But yes, I thought it was like, because it kind of had that vintage quality, but of kind of the exact era of these proms, yeah.
And ever since you said that Deanna was inviting music that they played at her high school prom, it has not left the brain every time they perform it. So
amazing. Well, to me, if you're hosting a good high school prom, you should be playing Whitney Houston regardless. So how about that?
But how do you think she's doing? Do you think that she could be... So they don't have more
Whitney,
opportunities this year. But if by the time Deanna is 40, do you think that she could be in the lead spot on the skating
Dave,
lesson?
I thought you were talking about Whitney Houston and how do I think she's doing? And I'm like, Dave, I don't mean to burst your bubble, but yeah, I love that if you were sent a message like USFS maybe seemed to be from the outside sending through both the scores and through the assignments, I think it would be tough for me personally to stay motivated and keep going. Mm-hmm. And what I love is I think she's motivated and going to keep going. And I love that. And then sky is the limit.
But do you know what's really crazy? They made them skate in the exhibition. That
would be like poor Mariah in Boston.
After, but they didn't know. So do you know that they get text messages when they... So even the coaches don't know because coaches were texting us to find out whether or not the announcement for continents made out. So the people that didn't make it, there was a skater that was too hungover to perform in the exhibition. There was someone that was not invited, but they had to skate the exhibition. Like that is a little rough. And
that's tough. That's a tough call. Yeah.
You also have to go to the breakfast with everyone and be gracious and happy when you are just finding out moments before.
That's tough to process that in front of people that are picking at you for pictures and saying weird things, undoubtedly,
So that's tough. I just think that there's a lot that needs to be improved with U.S. figure skating, but it seems like they are really running with, look, we can do whatever we want with the selection committee, and we're going to do that. And it seems like they're setting the precedent now. So
yeah.
It's going to be interesting to think what happens. It's just inconsistent again. Like, why put Haven and Brandon up so high, and they didn't have a great fall? And that's to me is what is the confusion. I don't think that there's any doubt in my mind that Tara and Danny should go after the fall that they had. Of course, you're going to send them. Their body of
work, yeah.
Their body of work, they have it. Look, it was one put down lift at nationals. I would send them two. I question the Haven and Brandon situation, and it's just again.
Well, if you're basically entering a competition minus one of your elements to start,
or two,
then you're starting at a deficit, which seems unusual.
At that point, I'm like, why not just send Alexa and Chris to 4 continents if we're going to go that far? But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I hope they get some time.
Well, anyway, snarky Jonathan.
What was your moment, Dave? What was your moment? Besides calling me out.
That was not calling you out. It was a celebration. That was a celebration. Obviously, Nathan's, I think, program was just so outstanding that, to me, what was impressive was how clean each landing was and how each landing was like butter. And like, you're like, oh, is he going to do it on the axle? Oh my God, he did the first axle. Is he going to do it on the second axle? Oh my God, he just did it. So I think overall, costume-wise, I
didn't mind the short. People were razzing on the short because
I liked the short. I
thought it worked, and we know that the long was not intended to be that way.
Yeah, but you know what was worse than the long? The one that it was supposed to be was horrifying with the orange.
See, I didn't see the one. Oh no! See, I don't think I minded that one. If I like with the geometric orange.
And then I hated it. But what also worried me is that it looked like it was done by Vera and Evan, and Evan gave an interview to Blythe Lawrence on the Team USA website, and he referred to his costumes as uniforms. And Evan Lysacek is now...
So did Scott Hamilton.
Yeah, it's like such revisionist history that they're now uniforms. They're no longer costumes.
What uniform has a big gold dazzly snake on it, Evan? What? I don't remember Dan Jansen ever speed skating in a golden snake. I'm just saying. I do remember people speed skating in Scott Hamilton's exact Olympic outfits. Yeah. So that's
a uniform with a glittery snake is interesting, but
yeah,
and feathers. He had a lot of feathers that season for the Firebird, and
right.
Remember, they almost looked like donuts that were on the arms because there were just so many feathers that were.
It was much. It was definitely much.
It was an interesting uniform, and not.
Everybody's got uniforms, and burlesque people might call it a uniform. I don't really know. But snaps to Nathan for adding that extra feature to his spin of covering up and being modest as his.
What comparison you just invited us to do, Jonathan?
No, I'm not showing my midriff.
Men on film. 2 snaps up because you literally just said snaps to Nathan. And then...
Oh, see, I don't even understand that reference.
Again, I'll leave it in the comments and we can...
Okay. I'm like a
beatnik.
Like, oh, okay. No, I got nothing. Yeah.
The
but if you need to know about, like... Oh, no, nothing.
Man's on film. Man, okay. Well... You will
see. I have much to learn. The skating lesson teaches more than just skating.
It really does. If anyone else got it, please leave that in the comments below too. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, hold an edge, and look sexy. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.